And I've also met some of the most amazing people that you'd ever want to meet. I mean, I'll give you an example. Al Maxwell, Logan, Utah, World War II, was in the Philippines when the war broke out. He was with Wainwright's group as they tried to escape the Japanese forces along the Bataan Peninsula, captured. In Bilibid prison for months, mistreatment. He was 6'3", 236 pounds when the war started. They took him on one of the famous hell ships to Japan, where they would take to the copper mines and the steel foundries. They took a lot of the POWs. Sunk by an Allied submarine, and was one of, I think, 67 survivors of that sinking. Was picked up by a Japanese merchantman vessel, taken to Japan, where he worked in Mukden, China, for 3.5 years in a copper mine, and then another year or so in a steel plant in Nagoya, and was interned at Nagoya Camp 6. The war ends with the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. He's trucked in with other prisoners from Nagoya Camp 6 to clean up at Hiroshima, and they're there for 5 or 6 days, sleeping on the open ground, radiation exposure, of course. He gets discharged. Well, actually, Nagoya was one of the last camps liberated, and they take the men out. They go to the hospital ship Hope, and Al checks in. Guess how much he weighed?
6'3". Just his bones would have to weigh 120 pounds, maybe?
89 pounds.
Unbelievable.
89 pounds, and then he was nursed back to a relative state of health for a short time, and then just dismissed from the service as unfit for service, and then given a very low percentage disability rating. And later in life, he got multiple myeloma. When he left the service, he had dengue fever. He had dengue fever, malaria. He had a colony of amoeba in his upper right quadrant that they never ever were able to kill. It was horrific. He and his wife had 5 children. 4 of them died at birth or within 6 months of congenital heart or lung deformities. So they lost 4 of their 5 children. They denied his claim.
Unbelievable.
They denied his claim. I represented Al and Jackie for many years. They were one of the named plaintiffs in the NARS case. One of the finest human beings you'll ever meet. I mean, patriotic, clean living, responsible fellow, wonderful family, and what they put him through. But having that relationship with someone that you not normally meet in this business, meant a lot to me. I mean, they were very, very poor, but I'll just give you an example of how good people they were. When my son was born, they had no money at all, but Jackie went out to Nordstrom's and got him a nice little blue outfit, way too expensive thing, but they were such fine people. They were going to use their limited resources on something like that, and it was really touching.
Very much so.
Yeah. But so I've spent my whole life doing this stuff. There's never been a period of time ever that I didn't have something going, and I like to do the major cases, the cases that are going to affect a lot of people.
Right.
And that's why these Edgewood, these chemical and biological weapons testing programs, a lot of these people are dying, and the VA has denied 99% of the claims. Can't prove it. You can't prove that the injections you got, and you didn't just get one thing. 1 week, mescaline. Next week, LSD. Next week, V-gas. Next week, scopolamine or BZ for 8 weeks. And then, did they follow up on them or monitor them? No, they discharged them from the Edgewood and then see you later. I mean, it's so galling in the ethical violations and lack of informed consent. They never even told them what they were getting. They say, we're giving you EA 3339. They had code names for everything. They never told them what their medical problems were. They never disclosed And where they learn more about these substances, which are chemical and biological weapons, they never told them anything about it. And so a lot of them have died, not knowing there was a linkage. They never. What are the synergistic effects of getting 8 different chemicals in a short space of time when you're a young man? Or it's not defensible. And they made him sign all these consent decrees, consent forms. I hereby consent to let you do anything to me that you want. Well, they'll line them up and they say, here's some forms to sign. You need to sign the forms. And it's just tragic how they take advantage of the little people.
Right. Well, they're lucky to have you.
Well, thank you.
You're definitely the champion.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you so much for spending the time.
Well,
with
thank
us
you for
today.
coming by, and that was good to see you.
Likewise.